A Democrat who gave Republicans a run for their money in what was seen as a safe district tries again. Dr. Hiral Tipirneni narrowly lost the special election. Now, with a summer to get her message out, she believes that voters in District 8 are ready for a change. And a state Senate candidate with a strong background in law enforcement says it's time to fight government corruption. In fact, he sued the state after being forced out of the Department of Economic Security. A look at how he hopes to change things. It's all here on Politics Unplugged. And good evening, I am political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. And we start tonight with Dr. Hiral Tipirneni. Now, you narrowly lost the election last spring here in that district. About 5 points separated you and your Republican opponent. What's different this time around?
Well, first of all, thank you, Dennis, for having me. It's great to be here again. Yeah, we're so proud of the progress we made. I mean, in a district that President Trump had won by 21 points, to bring it down to less than 5, 4.73 to be exact. You know, I think it just showed that this district is ready for change. They are eager for a new voice, a voice that truly represents their diverse values and the issues, and somebody who's ready to get to work on their behalf. And as far as what has changed, look, I've had more time now. I mean, obviously, as a first-time candidate, a lot of folks didn't know who I was. Now they know. They know that there's a choice on the ballot. They know the issues we're fighting for. And we've had a chance to reach out and talk to more voters every single day, which we've been doing on the phone or at the door. And folks that continue to show great momentum and excitement for what November might bring.
Yeah, but, you know, we've just seen today, we tape on Fridays, we've just seen the new economic reports, and we're seeing growth at 4% here in the country. I mean, that's a pretty powerful thing to be running against. Or why should voters want to switch that and want to switch parties when the party that's leading right now is producing some pretty good economic results?
Well, look, there's no doubt that it's a time of growth economically. What we know is that it's not all attributed, certainly, to our current administration or our current House and Congress. Also, what we know is there have been some fiscally irresponsible actions. Look at the tax cut bill, that we now have created a $1.3 trillion deficit, and that'll be paid for, potentially, if they get their way, with Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid cuts. That would deeply harm my district. And if you look at the recent farm bill, and now we're looking at a $12 billion bailout for farmers, again, to be paid on the backs of American taxpayers. So there's not a really great positive strategy or trend that I see coming from this current trend.
Now, on your website, you also say that you want to simplify the tax code. I mean, can you explain a little bit about that? And wouldn't the president already say, well, he's already done that?
Well, what we know is that tax cut really focused on the largest corporations and the uber elite wealthy among us. It did not focus on our middle class families. It didn't focus on the working class, and it certainly didn't help any small businesses in a significant way. We know that the vast majority of those tax cuts went to those corporations and the incredibly, you know, the 1% among us. My focus would be to simplify it, yes, but to help those who really need that extra help, like those small businesses, like the families that are struggling all throughout my district.
All right, now your opponent in the current incumbent, Debbie Lesko, now one of the first things she did after winning that election is she joined the Freedom Caucus. Now, for those people who don't know, this is a very conservative wing, about 40, 50 members in Congress, very conservative group of Republicans. Do you think that represents the district you're running in?
I don't, and I think that was a bit of a slap in the face to the voters, because she spoke repeatedly on the campaign trail of how she has had a history of working on bipartisan levels and how she plans to reach across the aisle. And look, my campaign has always been about talking to people on all parts of the political spectrum, and I've put my money where my mouth is. She has clearly stated, by joining that Freedom Caucus, that she stands in a very far-right corner. And frankly, we know our district has folks that are all through that middle ground, where we really find an ability to reach across the aisle and make progress. And people are so tired of those in D.C. that are just sort of digging their heels in the far ends of the political spectrum and aren't willing to come together to make real progress.
Now, several members of the Freedom Caucus, including Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs, Paul Gosar, have signed on to some legislation calling for the impeachment of Rod Rosenstein, who's overseeing the Mueller investigation into whether or not the Trump campaign had colluded with Russians during the 2016 election. Now, if you were elected, I mean, what would you do with that? Would you support this? If not, what would you do to try to fight this?
Would I support their attempt to impeach Rod Rosenstein?
Yes.
I would absolutely not support that attempt. Look, this is just another example of deep partisanship and Washington infighting. This is not what folks all around my district want. They also know that, look, this investigation is in the hands of a very capable special counsel, Robert Mueller, man of great integrity, respected by folks on all sides of the political line. And we have to work hard to maintain the integrity of our democratic process. I mean, there's a very real concern that our elections were tampered with. And if we want to maintain the integrity of our votes and our democracy, we have to let this investigation go to its full point of fruition.
Okay, now it's kind of sticking on with the politics inside the Congress. You know, if you were elected, would you support Nancy Pelosi for the speakership, or would you support somebody else?
Look, I think it's time for change, and that's why I'm running. We're tired of all the partisanship and the obstructionism. I'm ready for new leadership on both sides of the aisle. I think it's long overdue.
And why is that? I mean, what has been wrong with the leadership? I mean, I hear a lot of politicians, they always say we want change, we want new fresh blood. But specifically, what has someone like a Pelosi done that you think merits somebody else leading the party?
It's not so much what she's done. It is the fact that right now we have, first of all, we don't even know what Congress is going to look like after November. I imagine it may look considerably different, and I certainly hope to be one of those voices there. What we know is that the country has asked for things to change, for things to move forward, to stop our partisanship, and I think having new voices, new perspectives come into that conversation is long overdue.
And since we've last talked over the summer, we have seen this crisis unfold, this controversy unfold about children, young immigrant children being separated at the border from their parents under the policies put forward in this administration. What have you been hearing from voters in your district about this policy?
They've been heartbroken. They've been heartbroken. They've been horrified. Look, we know that as Americans, we don't stand for values of family separation, of taking children away from their parents. And that is certainly not doing anything to make our borders more secure. This is a sign, again, that Washington has not addressed this problem. We need comprehensive immigration reform. And what we know is that we need our borders to be secure, absolutely. And there's a smart, compassionate way that we can go about reforming our immigration system. And I think we can all agree, Democrats and Republicans alike, that separating children from their parents is not the way to go about this.
Yeah, and speaking of immigration, I know you're probably being tired of being asked there, because I know you probably get asked everywhere, but does a comprehensive border and immigration bill, does that include a border wall?
Look, again, yes, we need our borders to be secure, no doubt about it, as I have stated time and time again. And there are probably areas of the border that need to be reinforced, whether that's with a physical barrier or with more border patrol, with technological interventions like more drones. But as far as the actual idea of a wall, and I understand that it makes a lot of folks feel a little safer, that concept, but that's not going to make our borders more secure. And what we know, Dennis, is that the largest number of growing undocumented folks in this country are people who fly in with a visa and then overstay their visa. A border wall does nothing for that, and it also doesn't do anything necessarily for the drugs that are coming in, which is another concern, because we know from the DEA that the largest proportion of those drugs coming in through ports of entry. Again, a border wall does nothing for that. I want to keep our border secure, but there's a smart, rational, compassionate way to do it. Okay, before we let you go, we do have to hit you up on health care. Obviously, that is a big concern in your district. A lot of retirees there that rely on that. What are you hearing from them, and what's your plan moving forward on that? What I'm hearing is that it is still a very real concern all throughout my district. Folks are very concerned. We know that premiums are expected to rise almost 30% because of the recent removal of the individual mandate, which has put the markets into a flurry and chaos, and Arizona already struggles. We're already down to one player in most of the marketplace. Families all throughout my district are concerned about this day in and day out, and I have a very clear plan of how to get us to a place where every single American has access to quality, affordable health care. And this is exactly the kind of issue that Washington should be working to deal with. And unfortunately, that's not happening. And our current administration, our current Senate and House has, if anything, dismantled it further by removing the individual mandate. And now they're talking about removing protections for pre-existing conditions. That will be detrimental throughout my district. And that's something I am absolutely committed to continue fighting for. We've got a great plan in place, and I know that we can continue to be that voice for the district.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for joining us here this week. That's all the time we have now for this segment. But we do have more Politics Unplugged. Just ahead, a legislative candidate who says it's time to clean up government.
You were driving 130 earlier, you said?
Yeah, I go 130, 140, 120.
And after a lawmaker with a lead foot claims legislative immunity, the governor says it's time to change the rules, working to make sure some lawmakers follow the law. Still ahead on Politics Unplugged.
So much good stuff happens after you leave the house.
This hour is going to be a wild one.
Watch Good Morning Arizona from work with the AZ Family News app. It's okay. We won't tell.
As an informed voter, you have the power to shape our future. Citizens Clean Elections Commission is your source for unbiased voter information, so you can take aim on the issues that matter most. Connect with the facts at azcleanelections.gov.
My father passed his truck down to me. That's the same thing I want to do with you.
It's an emotional thing to watch a child grow up, and especially get behind the wheel.
I want to keep, stacking up the memories and the miles and the years.
He's going to get mine, but I'm going to get a new one.
When it's time for your old Chevy truck to become their new Chevy truck, there's Truck Month. Get 18% of MSRP cash back on all Silverado 1500 Crew Cab LT pickups when you finance with GM Financial. That's $9,000 on this Silverado. Plus, during Truck Month, make no monthly payments for 90 days.
Instead of going to school every morning, what if school could come to you? Because learning happens anywhere and everywhere. K-12 powered schools provide a tuition-free, full-time, online public school education taught by state-certified teachers.
It's public school at home.
K-12's curriculum is designed to engage students, to challenge them. So visit K12.com today. Tuition-free in Arizona.
Head coach Dan Marley for Emergency Chiropractic.
I certainly know life can be totally unpredictable, and auto accidents are never convenient. That's why Emergency Chiropractic has appointments Saturday, Sunday, and even holidays. Our #1 goal is to get rid of your pain. Emergency Chiropractic treats most auto injuries with no out-of-pocket costs. If you're in pain from an auto accident, call today or check us out on the web.
Emergency Chiropractic, the kind of care you want today.
Buckle up.
How can an insurance company be a good neighbor or have you in good hands when all they want to do is settle your case for as little as possible?
If insurance companies were fair, we'd be out of business. We're Lerner and Rowe.
One call, that's all.
Call 977-1900.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. And joining us now is Charles Loftus. He is a candidate with an extensive background in law enforcement. And he is looking to bring that experience to the state capitol, running for the state legislative district 20. And I want to thank you very much for joining us. And I want to start here with a little bit of background. Now, you were working again at the Department of Economic Security, but you were forced out by the governor in a shakeup that also saw the agency director, Tim Jeffries, move out as well. And a report said a security program instituted at the time was, quote, rife with disorganization and inefficiency. Care to address some of that?
Yes. One of the aspects of my being hired at the DES was to professionalize the law enforcement and security aspect. So if you look at my job as a piece of pie, one piece of the pie was the security aspect. And Director Jeffries wanted us to improve the security for almost 100 facilities.
Did you know, were you involved in, stockpiling the guns and ammunition there? For people who don't remember, that when they went into the office, they found quite a lot of ammunition and guns being stored there.
Correct. I did order some of the weapons and some of the ammunition. Some of it was ordered by my predecessor. I was there only about 3-4 months when this all happened. So when that occurred, a lot of that material was already had been ordered. But there's also sort of a misnomer there, because DPS did an analysis right after they walked us out, and they said there wasn't enough ammunition to accomplish the needs that we needed to have. We actually had about 1/3 of the ammunition that we needed. So,
and what did you need that ammunition for? I mean, I don't want to harp on this, but I think this goes to how judgments and decisions that are made.
Right. The Arizona Post, we had about 20 police officers at DES. And so Arizona Post requires, that's the governing board for law enforcement officers, requires that they qualify a certain number of times per year. Also, we were hiring a bunch of new security guards, and these security guards were armed. And we wanted to make sure they qualified within the standards set by the state. And so this was the ammunition for the training for the new security guards, and some of it was for the existing law enforcement officers that we had.
Okay, now interestingly, you and Mr. Jeffries were trying to say you were trying to just clean up government, and you allege now in your lawsuit that the state was trying to discredit you. And in fact, one of the issues for you in this campaign is cleaning up corruption in state government. What type of corruption are you talking about? And, how come you haven't blown the whistle on this before?
Well, let me tell you, just a few weeks before I was walked out, I had opened a case on a friend and donor of the governor. I had a facility, about a $1.4 million fraud. It was alleged by the auditors at DES, and I had taken that case over to the AG's office, and that case was opened. A case was opened. It was moved forward, and they settled. They just recently settled with that case. Also, Mr. Jeffries and...
This was a friend of the governor, you said?
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, he donated to the governor.
That's fine, but how does that pertain to state government?
Well, this is cronyism, and it's worse because...
Was this case that you're talking about, was he siphoning or getting public dollars and sweetheart deals?
Yes, he was getting money from one of the DDD programs, developmentally disabled individual programs. So, on the other hand, there was a big computer program called HEA Plus, and we were looking at trying to find a better way to service Arizona. There's about $100 million that were lost because of the software program was not expandable and other things. And so that's Director Jeffries' area expertise, and we were trying to look at a way to incorporate a newer system and drop that. And apparently that's a pet project to some individuals in government. So that's just one aspect. That's the reason we were released. That's not my anti-corruption platform.
Sure. So what do you do day one then if you're elected? You go to the State House, you start what? Issuing subpoenas? You start doing what?
Well, hopefully I go to the State Senate. That's what I'm running for.
State Senate, yeah.
What I'd want to do is, first off, start looking at how dark money affects Arizona. Why are outside billionaires running our elections in Arizona? I'm talking left and right politics. I'm a conservative Republican. I love my party, but both sides are addicted to this dark money, and we're starting to have some problems with transparency in government. Who is running our government, and why are people relying on outside billionaires for their elections?
Okay, now I want to move on now. Another issue we always talk about with candidates here because it is so important, it is immigration. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that because you do have law enforcement training, but you also, interestingly, just came back from a trip with Israel. And I just want to ask you your thoughts on a border wall, given that, Israel has made extensive use of walls in its fight against terrorists. Do you believe a border wall is needed here, and why?
Well, the short answer will be yes, but Israel uses a couple different types of border walls. They built the big concrete 30-foot walls around communities that suicide bombers were coming into Israel with. And we don't have a problem with suicide bombers in Arizona, thank God, or anywhere in the United States right now. However, they had a big immigration problem from the Sinai, and they built a border fence the entire distance with Israel and Egypt along the Sinai. And it's a multi-layered fence. It's not like the ones you see on TV that's 35 feet tall and concrete, but they patrol it, and they stop the illegal immigration into Israel from the Sinai. And there was a lot of deaths because that's a really rough area, and a lot of people were coming from northern Africa and dying in the Sinai or being victimized by ISIS or other individuals.
Okay, I want to make the hard pivot from that and talk about another big issue in state government, the biggest issue every year in state government. We're talking about education. It's for over 42 to 43% of general fund revenues are spent on education every year. Last year, we saw the biggest issue, teacher pay. Governor's promising 20% by 2020. He's giving them a 9-10% raise this first year. Is that enough? Would you go further?
I'd go as far as it takes to get the right teachers in the right positions, because our children are our future. One of my platforms is let's prepare the next generation. I say that over and over again. We have to have good jobs. We have to have low-cost energy. We have to have water, and we have to have education.
Sure.
So whatever it takes to get the children educated. Now, there's a lot of dynamics, as you know, in there. That's an oversimplification, saying give them what they need. But if we keep raising the salaries, we're going to draw back teachers from other states that have left. Now, that might be...
Well, let's talk about that. How much more do you think you need to raise teacher salaries, and how much is that going to be costing?
That's not my area of expertise on the exact...
But you're going to be asked to be voting on stuff like this.
I know, but I don't have those exact numbers in my hand. But what I can tell you, though, is when we keep raising the salaries, we're going to be drawing back more qualified individuals, and some of the individuals here may find themselves underqualified to the competitors. So we have to look at better education and...
So besides the teacher pay component, what else in education do you think needs to be addressed immediately?
If you look on my Arizona Republic webpage, I talk about, again, it goes back to cronyism and some less than palatable issues with charter schools. We need to control the charter schools a bit better. My opponent works for a charter school, and a lot of bills have gone through for charter schools, and the charter schools need to be a little bit better regulated. I'm a product of Arizona public schools. My son goes to public schools. I got my bachelor's and master's and doctorate from ASU, a public school, and I love public schools. But when they fail us, that's where the private school and charter school option comes into play.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for joining us here, and good luck on your campaign, and we'll see you soon. But we do have more here on Politics Unplugged coming up. We'll check in with our panel just ahead.
I used to be a defense attorney for large auto insurance companies. That valuable experience helps Hastings & Hastings get you every dollar you deserve. Experience matters, and with our discount fee, we charge less so you get more.
TitleMax makes it easy to turn your title into cash. Just go to TitleMax.com. Find out how much you can get.
Using TitleMax.com, I got $1,400.
$3,200.
TitleMax.com got me $9,700.
Best of all, most credit types are approved. Next time you need cash, try TitleMax for rate. Try TitleMax for the amount you need. Find out why so many people are saying, I got my title back with TitleMax.
Get your title back with TitleMax.
Michelle Reagan caused an Election Day fiasco.
Arizona's voting disaster is reaching new heights.
5-hour lines to vote. She's been missing in action since Tuesday's fiasco.
Reagan put our elections at risk and was found incompetent by the Attorney General. A pattern of failure. The better choice? Businessman Steve Gaynor. Steve built companies from the ground up. He'll clean up the mess and run the Secretary of State's office like a business. Steve Gaynor for Secretary of State.
Call Express Flooring today. Why only get 50% when you can save 71% on your new flooring? And why settle for a 1-year warranty when Express offers a lifetime installation warranty? The choice is simple. Call Express Flooring and take full advantage of these amazing offers today.
Call 800 Express.
I was born during the winter of '77. I first met James in 5th grade. We got married after college and had twin boys. But then, one night, a truck didn't stop. But thanks to our Forester, neither did our story. And that's why we'll always drive a Subaru.
Denny's new Super Slam is just $5.99.
$5.99? Are you out of your mind?
Seriously?
Yep. Eggs, hash browns, bacon, sausage, and buttermilk pancakes.
$5.99? Are you out of your mind?
We're out of our minds.
Denny's new Super Slam, only $5.99.
You're in an accident, hurt and in pain. The insurance company is demanding a recorded statement. Don't do it. Let us handle it. Call Hastings & Hastings, a firm you can trust. And remember, our discount fee means more money for you.
Welcome back to Politics Unplugged. It is now time to talk it out, and with us today is Emily Ryan with Copper State Consulting and Marcus Dellartino, our partner from First Strategic. Thank you very much, and I want to start with you, Emily, real quick. Just give us a breakdown on this Hiral Tipirneni, the race that she's running in. What's the dynamics going to be looking at in the fall? Can she flip this red district and turn it blue?
You know, she came darn near close to doing that in the special election just a few months ago. That's one everyone's going to be watching with bated breath. I actually think think Congresswoman Lesko is going to pull that out. But what Tipirneni has done to the entire Republican Party is make everyone really nervous, even at the state level. Everyone points to that race and says, yeah, but look what happened there. And so they're all running scared thanks to what she did this spring.
And if you're working with the incumbent Lesko, what are you worried about right now? What are you watching?
Turnout. Turnout. And I'm worried about female Republicans going to the polls. That's my primary vote.
Okay, let's move on to city politics. We don't get a lot of time to talk about this on the show, but let's look. Councilman Daniel Valenzuela has stepped down. They're going to be picking his replacement here pretty soon. Any word on who's the front runner to replace him?
You know, there's some word. Justin Johnson, Paul Johnson, former mayor's son, has been interested in that seat. He did. Nice guy. There's a lot of talk about him, but I just want to say, Valenzuela and Gallego did something really smart by staggering their departures, because now Kate Gallego gets to vote on Danny Valenzuela's replacement, meaning there won't be a 3-3 tie with only 6 council members, and that takes away the opportunity for some deal making and horse trading to happen. It'll be more of a straight vote to reflect that district.
Yeah, I would say, you know, the safest bet is go with the placeholder. These races are already contentious, both for the replacement for Danny Valenzuela and for Kate Gallego. They're contentious races. Candidates are already out lobbying for it. The safe bet is, look, do a placeholder till the election.
Yeah, and I want to talk about a little bit about this, because with Valenzuela leaving now, this is going to pit him against Councilwoman Kate Gallego, who has announced that she's leaving on August 7th. You know, who's got the edge on this? And one interesting thing I saw was Kate Gallego's being endorsed by Planned Parenthood. Is that a big deal in a race that's supposed to be nonpartisan?
I think it's a big thing. I think it's a break from what we've seen in the past, right? These races have become more partisan than they have been 10 years ago and certainly 20 years ago. And proof of that is watching Planned Parenthood, who literally has zero to do with the city of Phoenix. It's not a city issue. Cities focus on trash, sewer, water, cops and firefighters, but it shows that they want to play in the game.
Yeah, is this going to be, the dynamic's going to be different this year? Are you going to need, like, the winner of this, are they going to need the support of labor, police, the traditional groups?
Absolutely. They're going to need the support of the traditional groups, and they need to be really careful about endorsements like Planned Parenthood and things that are very, very partisan, because, you know, the viewers probably know at home, but Phoenix is not a Republican and Democratic primary and then go on to a general. They all run. The top 2 vote getters, if no one's over 50%, moves on. So these people trying to run to the left of each other as Democrats, they could lose a lot of independent and Republican voters.
And I want to hit this real quick, too. Legislative immunity, everybody's favorite topic. Obviously, Paul Mosley was a lawmaker who was caught speeding, talked his way out. He said he was bragging about driving 130, 140 miles an hour, got out of a speeding ticket by saying, I'm a lawmaker, I'm legislatively immune from being prosecuted on this. Governor says, well, let's repeal that. If he's elected, he wants to take that to the ballot probably in 2020. You know, what's that going to look like?
I think it'll be an easy pass. The Democrats have been talking about it, I think, for, 8 years, talking about repealing legislative immunity. And frankly, in today's day and age, it only makes common sense to repeal it.
Okay, and one last question on this is, they filed an ethics complaint that has formally been revealed, has been passed out to members of the Ethics Committee in the House. Eddie Farnsworth, or the people over there, are they going to follow this through? Is this ethics complaint, is there going to be a hearing against Mr. Mosley for this?
Boy, if I could predict what Representative Farnsworth was going to do, I'd be
we wouldn't be doing this TV show.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is going to not make a political decision. I think he's going to review the complaint and make a very fact-based decision on how to move forward.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for Politics Unplugged this week, and thank you all for wearing some pink today. For I don't know how we coordinated that, but thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Diamonds.